So friends, the month of June started with some of the law firms that bent the knee to Donald Trump, some of the law firms that gave the bully their lunch money without a fight. The month of June started with some of those law firms losing clients. And the month of June ended with a fourth law firm that would not bend the knee to Trump, a fourth law firm that sued Donald Trump for his attempt to punish law firms he didn't like. That fourth law firm just won in court, as had the three other law firms that sued Donald Trump. A clean sweep. So what does that prove, friends? Well, it proves that when we stand up, when we speak out, when we fight back, when we assert our rights, including in court, we win. When we fight the monster rather than feeding the monster, we win. So we have to keep standing up, speaking out, holding strong, rallying, marching, protesting, all peacefully, and asserting our rights in court. Because justice matters. Friends, here's a brief recap of the legal stories for the month that was June 2025. So friends, remember those law firms that bent a knee to Donald Trump? When he unlawfully threatened them, instead of standing up to the tyrant, the dictator, the bully, they laid down. They gave up. And they pledged tens of millions of dollars to Trump, to the bully, in hopes that he would spare them. That's right. They tried to pay their way into Donald Trump's good graces. How's it going for those law firms now? Not so good. So friends, state attorneys general are not letting up. They're stepping up. They're stepping up their legal challenges to Donald Trump's lawlessness and unconstitutionality. So friends, there have been some legal developments in the Abrego-Garcia unconstitutional deportation case, and one media outlet ran this headline. Federal judge delivers a 1-2 punch to Trump in Abrego-Garcia case. And friends, it may surprise you which media outlet ran that headline. So friends, it was about a week ago that I did a video on Donald Trump losing 3 court cases in the span of about 24 hours. Well, Donald Trump just outdid himself. Have a look at this headline. Donald Trump suffers quadruple legal blow within hours. Hey, at least there's something at which Donald Trump excels. So friends, just for a minute, we're going to need to stop the presses, because this is a big legal development. Headline: Trump administration, for the first time, returns wrongfully deported migrant to the U.S. So friends, did you ever encounter a circumstance where somebody was told to do something, maybe even ordered to do something by a judge or a court, and that person said, well, I'm going to do it not because I was told or ordered to do it. I'm going to do it because I want to do it. Well, that brings us to Attorney General Pam Bondi and Abrego-Garcia. Attorney General Bondi, the Department of Justice, the Trump administration, were ordered by courts, trial court judge, appeals court judges, and the United States Supreme Court to return Abrego Garcia to the United States. And what did Pam Bondi say? No, can't be done. Impossible. He's in a whole nother country, a sovereign nation. We don't have the authority or ability to bring him back. Well, now, Pam Bondi just brought Abrego Garcia back. But the message she sent is, well, I'm not bringing him back because I was ordered by courts to bring him back. No, I'm bringing him back because I want to bring him back, because I want to prosecute him. Okay, Pam. Friends, can I invite you to maybe sit back, get comfortable, because we are going to take apart the Abrego Garcia indictment. So, friends, Donald Trump is orchestrating chaos in California and elsewhere just so he can try to claim that he has to deploy the military to the streets to deal with all the chaos that he created. You know, Donald, we see right through your totalitarian bullshit. So, friends, the Trump-induced chaos in California that is a product of these mindless, callous immigration sweeps that aren't targeting or focusing on immigrants who've committed crimes. No, they're just gathering up undocumented men, women, and children. Friends, do you know how much undocumented workers pay in taxes each year? An estimated $100 billion going into the government's coffers, into the Treasury. So, friends, here we are again, asking the question, is that legal? Today's question, is Donald Trump sending troops to LA legal? Let me not bury the lead. Given the facts as we know them and the applicable federal law, the answer is no. So, friends, it was another bad day in court, and not just for Donald Trump, but for some Trump-adjacent clowns. Guys like Marco Rubio and a lawyer for the Proud Boys. 3 points of light incoming. So, friends, a federal judge in California just delivered Donald Trump one of the biggest legal losses of his presidency thus far. I began to hear how you were kind of digging deeper and going behind that sort of simple narrative. And can you share with our viewers a little bit about what you're finding?
Yeah, there's a little bit more of a backstory here. People who remember the 2016 election will remember that when Trump became a candidate, the Koch brothers' political operation was dead set against him and was lambasting him. He was critiquing them back. There was war between House of Koch and House of Trump. And suddenly that war subsided. And House of Koch went quiet on Trump and indeed spent a lot of money on field campaign to support Republicans, including Trump. And around that same time, guess what else popped up? The so-called Federalist Society list, which was the list of judges who Trump would appoint.
Let's move away from Donald Trump's dictatorial zeal, and asking any other question kind of feels like, well, Miss Lincoln, other than that, how was the play? But let me just ask you, what, apart from saving democracy, which I think is a priority for everybody right now, what are your three top political priorities in the event you are elected to Congress?
Housing, groceries, and healthcare. I call it basic existence, and these things are all presented as like one individual issue, and they are intrinsically tied with each other, and we can't address one without addressing the others. And frankly, making sure that people are fed, making sure that they get healthcare, making sure that they have a roof over their heads, it is good for the country. This isn't just like wasting money, although I never think it's a waste to spend money on our people. A universal healthcare system costs less than our current incredibly inefficient system because we're not just at the mercy of a bunch of corporations and rich guys that want to get richer.
So friends, I hope you got to attend one of the No King's Day rallies on Saturday. I had the pleasure of attending our rally right here in little old Leesburg, Virginia, and I had the privilege of addressing the crowd. Listen to this, friends, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know. In the last 3 Supreme Court cases that dealt with due process rights, specifically due process rights of immigrants, what was the vote? 9-0 in favor of due process, 7-2 in favor of due process, and 7-2 in favor of due process. Well, friends, once again, a Ronald Reagan-appointed federal judge just verbally ripped into Donald Trump for some of his executive orders, saying, quote, "I've never seen a record where racial discrimination was so palpable," close quote. And wait until you hear some of the other things this Reagan-appointed judge said about Donald Trump's lawlessness. Well, friends, rack up another lawsuit filed against Donald Trump, this time by the American Bar Association, the ABA. Well, guess what, friends? E. Jean Carroll just beat Donald Trump and the Department of Justice in court again. There is no denying it. E. Jean Carroll is one powerful point of light amidst the Trump-induced darkness. So, friends, we've had a temporary setback in the California National Guard case, but this court battle is far from over. The court battle involving whether Donald Trump can lawfully, constitutionally create chaos and confusion in California and then claim that he has to deploy the military to the streets of California to tamp down all the chaos and confusion. Friends, can you smell the bullshit emanating from Donald Trump's argument? Me too. Well, friends, Harvard University just whooped Donald Trump in court again. So much losing. You know, it makes me think that Pam Bondi is really not very good at this attorney generaling thing. You had a couple of different options, a few different options, right? You could have resigned. You could have resigned and gone public and said, this is what's been going on inside the administration. You could have leaked rather than doing it in an anonymous column. I mean, listen, the government's full of leakers, right? Or you could have chosen to do what you did. I'm just curious, like, why did you settle on that rather than resigning and speaking out?
Yeah. First, on resigning and speaking out under my own name, I'd always intended, yes, I have to do that. And, I ended up quitting the administration and coming forward in my own name. But we'd already seen that with people. We were a year and a half into the Trump administration at that point. The people who resigned and went and talked to reporters about, hey, it's kind of dicey in there. What did Trump do? He just made it a whole show about them, how stupid they were, how he'd never met them. It was a spectacle. And then the country would move on and people just wouldn't pay any attention. I mean, we were talking about a zombie-like mob sleepwalking into autocracy.
Well, friends, in the Abrego Garcia case, Donald Trump and Pam Bondi's Department of Justice just went down in flames, with a federal magistrate judge rejecting their efforts to have Abrego Garcia jailed pending trial in his criminal case in Tennessee. Well, friends, here we go again. A federal appeals court just ordered the Trump administration to return another man to the U.S. that they unconstitutionally deported to El Salvador. You know, no one can ever accuse the Trump administration of learning from their mistakes. So friends, on today's episode of Donald Trump's sprint toward autocracy, he just had his Department of Justice sue all federal district judges in Maryland for trying to put a 2-day pause on Trump's unconstitutional deportations of immigrants. Friends, no words, but let's try to find some and talk about it. So friends, one of Donald Trump's former criminal defense attorneys, this guy, Emil Bove, just had his confirmation hearing because Donald Trump is trying to make him a federal court of appeals judge. And you know, friends, in case there was any lingering doubt about just how wrong, just how ill-suited this guy is to be a federal judge, well, Bove cleared that up for us. So friends, we got some good news on the accountability front because yet another former Trump lawyer who was involved in the corrupt scheme to overturn the results of the 2020 election has been disbarred. So friends, the new Supreme Court ruling on the birthright citizenship front is not good, but I don't think it's nearly as bad as it appears to be at first blush. So friends, is anybody interested in a good news story on the accountability front? Me too. So here's a question. How many of Donald Trump's former lawyers have been disbarred? So friends, we've had a couple of new legal developments in cases involving Donald Trump's unconstitutional executive orders punishing law firms. The first development, Donald Trump just lost. Case number 4. A fourth law firm just crushed Trump's DOJ in court. And the second development, today the Department of Justice filed a somewhat surprising last-minute appeal. Let's talk about that, because justice matters.
It's for sure. Justice matters. Justice matters. Justice matters, matters.